The Empowerment Show aims to equip individuals with the necessary tools, knowledge, and confidence to make informed decisions and take control of their lives. It also focuses on ensuring access to essential resources and the opportunities.
Good evening, and how you guys doing this evening? My name is Kendall Stevenson. This is the Empowerment Show, and I am the host. My name is Kendall Stevenson. Hope you guys have been enjoying what we've been laying out on this network. You know, we had mental health Mondays, and we just got finished with Jeannie Ruiz. She talks about financial literacy and entrepreneurship. This evening, I got a young man with me, and I, I'm very glad to bring him on. I got an opportunity to read some things about him, and I like what I see. So let me see if he's out there. You know, these guys, they stand out there, they're ringing the doorbell, you know. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I hear him. Let me bring him in. How you doing, young man? How are you?
Hello, hello. How are you, sir? I'm very good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just for all purposes, Cole Carter, and he's running for
I'm running for Congress in
running
Pennsylvania's
for
3rd
Congress.
District. Yep.
The third district. What district is that? I'm not really familiar with it. I apologize.
Sure. So currently, this is the seat that Dwight Evans, the current incumbent congressman, holds, and this district spans from, all the way up northwest in Chestnut Hill and Andorra, Roxborough, Germantown, Dunharry, and West Philadelphia, Southwest, North Philadelphia. So it's a big portion of the city, pretty much everything except for like the Northeast and Kensington and parts of eastern North Philadelphia.
You know, I just want to ask you a couple of questions, maybe a little bit off track. Well, not really off track. It concerns Congress. A lot of things have been going down, like with the Venezuela thing.
Yes.
I was listening to Jasmine Crockett. I'm sure you know who she is, and she was pretty much saying that the things that the president is doing is illegal, and that he actually should get permission from Congress before he does the things that he does. Why is it illegal?
Sure. Well, for about 80 years now, we've had something, or the world has operated under something called the rules-based international order. And this is something that came to be right about after World War II, a little bit before, but the genesis of it comes from what happened in the Holocaust. And, what it is the idea that no longer would countries be able to do things like violate other sovereignty or, and that's dealing with external, like inter country conflicts. But within countries, we'd also agreed that no longer would we tolerate genocides or things like that. So we, create the UN, which comes from, a previous organization, the League of Nations, and that ends up failing. But anyway, we create the UN, and after the reason we create the UN is to enforce these sorts of this new way of being, this new world order that we will have after we've experienced the Holocaust and the war, the World War II. So, why is it illegal? Because international law was created to say that such a thing is illegal. Because before then, it wasn't illegal to do such a thing, right? The world operated much like a bully would, right? If you're stronger, if you do what you will,
Right.
and the weaker will suffer what they must, right? And so, and this is where we have like colonization, right? We have, if you look at Africa, a little before, a couple decades before World War II, we had the scramble for Africa, and we can see that the world operated in this sort of way for a long time. And so it's illegal because the world decided it would be illegal. And now what happened is we're starting to see countries decide that, we're going to give up on this idea of a rules-based international order. We don't want to be constrained by the rules because those rules, number one, they favor the United States most of the time in the West. But number two, For countries like Russia, for example, what's happening in Ukraine is a result of them wanting to violate this rules-based international order. What's happening in Israel, Gaza, once again, violations of international law and the rules-based international order. And so now finally, the United States, I guess, is joining the party saying that we also want to violate and give up on the idea or the fiction that we had a rules-based international order. Because in reality, the United States is meddled in the hemisphere for that 80-year period I was talking about, where we had international law and we acted like we were paying attention to it. That 80-year period, we conducted lots of covert actions and subverted lots of governments, and implemented lots of coups in South America, in Latin America, so in other places in Africa. So it's illegal. To answer your question, it's illegal because it's a violation of stated international law. But to be fair, or to be honest with ourselves, we've been doing this for a long time.
And this is where they say history repeats itself. And unfortunately, the education system here is not really educating the people. And I understand you want to do something about the education system, even tuition. When I was younger, I lived in New York, and when I was younger, when you wanted to go to college, back then in the 70s, you can go to college and you didn't have to pay a tuition as long as you went to city college.
Right.
And I see that they revived that back into New York City. Do you have any plans for maybe bringing something like that here?
I would love for that to happen. So what I would like to do is to make basically from cradle to adulthood free, right? So that means covering pre-K, child care, pre-K, elementary school, middle school, high school, and also community college, or if you want to go to a public non-community college, or trade school. So for every sort of education, from the beginning to the end, up to a bachelor's degree, I want to be sure that we're providing that for free. We've done free education before. You just mentioned in New York that was an option, and a lot of people don't realize that before Reagan, this was the norm most places. Right? We provided free education, free college to people, and it didn't really become a problem until Black people started getting educated, or until students became nuisances to governments. Because when you start learning about how the world operates, and you start to understand that maybe we're not always exactly the good guys, right? Like you start fighting maybe the war, and you start questioning why you're being drafted into a war. And when that happens, then you become a nuisance to the government sometimes. And so the government had to put an end to that. And Reagan was the person who started that process of making education expensive.
That was in the Reagan era. I know all about it. I know the whole trickle down effect. But here's one of the questions I guess people would ask, or that I would ask, is I understand that you want to implement these programs, and in order to do so, you would need resources. So how do you plan on funding these particular organizations? Like I know you want free healthcare, and now you talk free education, and the question is how are they to be funded?
How will it be funded? So first, right now we have enough money to pay for every program that we could ever want. The problem is that, and this is just using with the existing tax code. The problem is wealthy people are able to dodge their burden and their responsibility to actually pay the taxes. So like the estate tax, for example, there are so many ways to get around actually paying your taxes. Another thing is that wealthy people end up holding most of their assets not in like they don't receive it as income like we do, so they don't get taxed at income tax. They hold their assets in stocks and in bonds and things like that. And so the kind of tax that they have is only if they get an increase in the value of their stocks or bonds and they sell it. So that's called a capital gains tax. And so I could have, let's say, $1 million in my stock portfolio. But I'm not being taxed on it because it's just sitting there and it's not being, even though the amount is going up every week, let's say, it could go up to $2 million a year. The value of my investments go up to $2 million, but I'm not being taxed. Meanwhile, someone who goes to work every day is being taxed because they're getting income tax. So, number one, we have to crack down on the wealthy people who, they find ways not to pay their taxes, but then we also can make some adjustments and our tax code and figure out ways to actually tax wealthy people in the way that they actually receive their income. And that's what I'm calling for, a wealth tax. So the ultra wealthy people, if you have, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars, then, we're going to need some of that because there's no reason that no reason that it's fair to allow someone to benefit from what the society has given them, right? We've given people the ability to make all this money, and then we don't ask them to give back in any way. That doesn't make any sense. But we ask of the people who go to work for these people to give back. I think that's backwards. I think what we need to do is, actually make the people who have the money pay their taxes. And if we do that, then we'll be able to pay for everything that we want.
Well, we got a lot of robin barons, if you want to call them the barons. Yeah. But that question has been asked of many politicians, and they pretty much come back with the same answers that we need to get the money, we need to take the taxes from the rich. And my question is, how are we going to get the rich to pay their fair share?
A lot of the reason why, I'll step back. Whenever we look at a system and wonder why it's not working in the most sensible way, then that means that there's some incentives that are causing it to work in the other direction. And so a lot of this comes down to how we fund our political system as a whole, right? Like, how do people get elected? People get elected by soliciting donations from the very people who they are supposed to hold accountable. So if in this race, for example, all of the people that I'm running against, they're getting big checks from rich people. Hello? It seems to have gone out.
No, you're here.
Oh, okay. The screen went white for me. Okay, so anyway, all the people that I'm running against are getting big checks from really wealthy people. And so it's going to be hard for me to, look at them and expect them to actually hold those people that they're getting their donations from, the people who are giving them their job. How are they going to hold them accountable and tax them, right? Because Congress revolves every 2 years, right? Next year, you're going to need some more money from them. so when you ask them, for more money, they're going to say, well, why'd you tax me? Of course, I'm not giving you any more money. So what we need to do is fund our campaigns completely differently. We need to have public funding of federal campaigns so that we don't have to do this. There's no reason why, we have to ask, thousands of people to solicit donations. This should just be something that's, publicly funded. And that will cut out the corruption and make it so that we understand, that wealthy people will pay their taxes and we don't have to worry about perpetuating that incentive.
Yeah, I tell you something, if wealthy people actually would pay what they used to pay before Reagan came into office, I think we'd be better off economically. Before Reagan came into office, you didn't pay taxes on your Social Security when you got your Social Security check.
Yeah.
And now when you receive your Social Security check, it's considered to be earned income. So you're paying on the way in and you're paying on the way out. But
And it
one of my
makes no sense
pet, but
because you've
one of my
already paid it.
Yeah, you've already paid it, so you're paying it twice. That's kind of how it is.
Right,
You pay going in. When you receive your paycheck, you pay the FICA. You can see it right there in
right,
your paycheck. I paid
right.
into this, and then when you take it out, the government hits you up with earned income, and then they hit these penalties on you. So if you earn over a certain amount of money, like if you went out and got a part-time job, and you
Hmm.
earn over a certain amount of money, then they'll start hitting you up with penalties. But my
Exactly.
big pet peeve right now is paying the property tax. So I'm a
Hmm.
veteran, all right,
Hmm.
and I'm a senior, and
Hmm.
I'm just wondering when the lobbyists and the big rich guys they get all the big tax breaks. Just wondering when we're gonna get a little bit of tax break. I've been listening to
Yeah.
these people who wants to run for senator, like Rosemary Brown, and I've listened to the other. Even other guy that's right now president who's in office. All of these guys promise that they're going to do something about property taxes. How do we take care of that?
Yeah. So the property taxes are paid for or handled by local governments and state governments. But that doesn't mean that we can't provide at the federal level a um, like a subsidy or a tax credit. So to offset the property taxes that you pay for your local government or your state government. Now, my agenda or part of my agenda is that housing is a human right, and what
Mhm.
that means is that um, I believe that everyone deserves to have a secure, a safe, and comfortable place to live. Right, just by virtue of being alive. There's nothing that you need to do in order to deserve this. This is just this is the human right aspect. And so um, when the government places a burden on a necessity, then that's the signal that we're doing something wrong, right? Um, because the government is set up for us to help us, right? That is the only function of the government. So what if the cities and the states need the taxes, that they need the revenue for whatever reason to fund themselves and function, that means that we can have the federal government come in and provide an offset um, and give that back to the people. So, but just if we just think about that, that's telling us that we're doing something inefficient. If it sounds convoluted, that means we're doing something inefficient. And maybe there's a better way for cities and states to fund their, schools or whatever it is that they are using the property taxes for. Um, Maybe there's a better, more direct way we can fund them instead of having to pay the property taxes at the state local level and then give a offset at the federal level.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's what we
You think it's possible? You think we can actually
do.
do that?
I think everything that we want to do is possible. We just have to have political courage and do it. And I'll, I'll keep going back to this. A lot of this is due to how we fund our campaigns. If we're doing something that doesn't make sense, it's because someone has a financial incentive to keep it that way. So if we ensure that we do not vote for people who are backed by the ultra wealthy or corporations, then we will see that this problem goes away. Um, of course, we'll always have Republicans, right? But at least on the Democratic side, we can make a vow amongst ourselves that we're not going to operate like that. So, um, and then the fight is just against the Republicans, trying to prevent progress.
Mm. Well, I guess that you're running under a Democratic ticket, right?
Yep.
So what I always say is I don't really care if there's Republican, Democrat,
Hmm.
is that the person that sits in that seat is here to serve the people.
Hmm.
So how do you plan on serving the people?
I plan on serving the people by being, well, a couple of ways. First, directly. And what I mean by that is I'll be doing my job as a congressperson. I'll be ensuring that I am truly a representative of the people that I would like to represent. And what that means is that my views would be aligned with the people of the district. So a lot of times you'll see that there are these Congress people who, you know, they'll go to these town halls and they're arguing back and forth with their constituents. How could that possibly be? Your district should be made up of people who are similarly, situated and similarly aligned in thought. And so what that means is that, you know, likely the person who's representing you is only there because they have the most money, right? But if you are of the people, if you literally, understand the district and you know that what is required for people to thrive, then this shouldn't be a problem. So I would act as a true representative. How will I do that? I have ideas on what we need to get done in order to make sure that people thrive. But what I believe is that we should always be holding town halls. You should, like a congressperson should never be too far away from the people that they represent, right? A lot of times they'll get elected and then you'll never hear from them again until, it's time to be elected again. And so what I would plan on doing is holding town halls every weekend. Every weekend they're done in not in DC. And so that's one way. Also, what we're doing now is building out a grassroots network of volunteers. And what I would love to see happen, assuming we win the campaign, is we turn that organization into a mutual aid organization. And so people can get their needs addressed all across the city, right? Like normally, as a congressperson, you have your own office, and then you do some constituent services out of that office. But what I'm envisioning is we have nodes all across the, inside of neighborhoods all across the city, and those volunteers that we've activated end up continuing this this process beyond the campaign and continue to provide mutual aid to people so that we, address people's needs directly. And I'm a huge proponent of, the Black Panthers motto, which was survival pending revolution, right? Like what I'm asking for in Congress amounts to a revolution of sorts. But that doesn't mean that in the meantime, we just got to sit there and wait. So that's my idea of how I'm going to
the Black Panthers, they were the first ones to start the food program to feed kids.
Yes. Yep.
They also were about protecting their neighborhoods, even though they were labeled as terrorists. They really were not a terrorist active organization. They were actually there to help the people, for the people, and they were doing it. They were doing it in the way that they were doing it. I'm a huge fan of Fred Hampton. So I kind of like the way he did things, and he wanted to bring the entire community together, not just certain portions of it. Now, you were talking about that you want to have town hall meetings. Would that also be a part of that small group, the calls that you do? How does that work? Or how does that work?
Right now, what we do is usually every Saturday I hold a virtual town hall. And that allows anyone to call in from anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. You can call in on your phone, or you can we set up a thing like this on Zoom, and you can join that. And I usually spend a couple of minutes going over the policies that I would like to propose, or I'm proposing, and then we just hang around after that, and I answer questions, and people are tell us about the issues that they're facing, and we work through ways on how to address it. So it ends up being very participatory, and I would envision continuing that forever, right, after the campaign, because I think it's really important to talk to people and understand where they are, what they need, and then also envision ways of how we can make it better.
Well, I don't know if you know Tamiko Patterson, but she heads the Democratic Party here in Monroe County. And we do have some issues here in Monroe County. One that I could see is we have people that are unhoused, at least 1,000 families every night that are unhoused. We don't have any family shelters here in Monroe County, not a one. So we have some issues that are here in Monroe County, and I'm sure she could probably tell you a little bit more. Maybe after the show,
Oh yeah,
I'll let you have her information,
I would
and
love.
maybe you can come up and you can speak to the Democratic Party here
I would
in
love that.
Monroe County. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool. Well, there was one more thing I had to ask
Mhm.
you. I got to go through these little notes here. Yeah, you already talked about the contributions, but you do that via the grassroots, correct?
Oh yeah, one hundred
And
percent.
how's the campaign going with that way? Are you
Well,
getting you
yeah,
starting to
we're
get
getting
donations or?
starting. So I just started soliciting donations right at the end of November. So like beginning of December. So far, we've had a little over 500 people contribute. So I think that's a good sign. I think that means that we're energizing something, or that shows the potential that this campaign has. Um, we, and these are all small dollar donations, meaning these are just regular people. There are no corporations, no wealthy people that I don't even know any wealthy people. Right?
No APAC money, no
Of
CPAC
course,
money.
no, absolutely
Right,
not.
right.
I would never. I would never. So, um, you know, this campaign, I vowed to never take any corporate PAC money. Of course, not APAC money. I would never take any money from any lobbyist representing a foreign country ever. Right? That doesn't even make any sense. And and I would never take any money from any lobbyist whatsoever, because
Mm.
you can only be a true representative of the people if you get money from the people, right? And so to just make sure that I am, you know, can be held accountable as a representative of the people.
Yeah,
I,
accountability is
anyway,
very important. I
yeah.
think that's why I really like Jasmine Crockett so much because when she speaks, she's 10 toes down with her
Oh
chest
yeah,
up in the air and she says what she has to say. And
yes, yeah.
not only does she say what she has to say, she brings receipts. She's
Oh yeah,
factual what she says.
yeah.
You know,
I love her.
I just wonder if all of this is going to make a difference because it seems that this man he's going to do whatever the hell he wants to do. When this is all said and done, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, he'll probably get away with it because of the
He will.
immunity that the Supreme Court has given to him. But how about all the people that's with him? They
They're-
don't have that
So,
immunity clause.
so they're all counting on um, pardons, right? They assume that they'll be able to get a pardon, but a lot of the things that they're doing are state crimes. So, when an ICE agent um, commits a crime in the state, right, or commits a crime that is a violation of state law, then they can be prosecuted under state law. So a federal pardon is not going to do anything for them, right? Pardons from the president only extend to federal crimes. Um, and so, you know, and all of the people that are surrounding him, right? Like we can think of the first administration, almost everyone that was with him went to jail, went to prison, right? I don't even understand why
Exactly my
anybody would
meaning.
agree to go to go, sign up for the second campaign or the second administration. Um, everything he touches goes to jail. So what I would say is, number one, the pardon power is only, applicable to the federal crimes that you commit. So they better be very sure that they're only committing federal crimes. Secondarily, they're not immune from impeachment. I'm thinking of the people in the cabinet. The very first thing that I plan to do when I walk into, after getting sworn in, is having articles of impeachment drafted, ready to go for every single
Mhm.
person in that administration that has committed a crime, and almost every single one of them have.
Oh yeah,
Starting at the
Cash
president,
Patel, Pam Bondi.
yes, yes. So,
I think Martin Luther King Jr. I like the quote that he said. I think he said it best. He says, "You have two type of people. You have those that are sincerely ignorant, and those that are conscientiously stupid." And right now, this
oh yeah,
administration, they are conscientiously
oh yeah,
stupid because they know what they're doing is wrong. They
yeah.
know the things that they're doing is wrong. Spending billions and millions of dollars to start a war. I think the war is probably to keep him out of jail or something like that.
Well,
or
yeah,
to cover up for the Epstein
Epstein.
files and stuff, or at least give them enough time to redact it all.
Yep,
Because
yep.
my
They need a
understanding is that there's
distraction.
millions and millions of copies of papers and stuff that's coming out now.
Yeah.
So they need a little time to read through everything so they can redact it all. So we'll never know what the hell it says anyway.
But what has come out so far is damning enough to be the end of his career. Like, there's no reason why he should be in office at this moment. Just the I'm thinking of the Lake Michigan revelations. At the very least, these should be investigated, and we should be holding hearings about all of this stuff. And I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want a president that's even been accused of any of these things. So, just his association with this man is damning enough. So, he's definitely hiding something with his picking fights in Venezuela, but in his insanely illegal kidnapping. That's the only word for it. But the Epstein files are my best guess of why he's doing this.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up, and I got one more question I'd like to ask you. There are 12 other people besides yourself running.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we pick you?
I'm the only one who understands what the gravity of the current moment is. Right? I'm the only one I know that is calling what is happening a coup. I'm the only one I know that has called January 6th a coup attempt. Everyone else will be calling it an insurrection or something, or using light words that misdirect and don't face it at all. I'm the only one that's calling Project 25 a blueprint for an authoritarian coup of the United States. I'm also the only one who has vowed not to take any corporate PAC money, any money from lobbyists whatsoever. We do have a couple people in this race who were not so clear in their answer when they were asked whether or not they would take money from insurance companies or money from pharmaceutical companies. And one of them, a doctor, in fact, said that they would take money from pharmaceutical companies. I think that that's insane. So, and I don't think that that is something that is acceptable from a representative. Additionally, I'm not part of the Democratic Party establishment. Everyone who is running the top people has either been handpicked, right, as a successor from the person who's already there, or is already a sitting representative or sitting state senator. Mm-hmm. And so what they're basically asking for is an upgrade. They're asking for a promotion. And I would say, what about your life, if you live in Philadelphia, has changed for the better such that you want to give these people a promotion, right? And so that's how politics usually works, is that, people who are in office try to just continually go higher and higher. I don't think it should work like that. I think that we should, whenever we can, we should have new blood in so that we can keep them on their toes, right? Like politics shouldn't be so easy that, it's just walk in the park to go to the next level, right? Like you should have a competitive primary. People's ideas should be tested, and nobody should be anointed the next congressperson in the city. Philadelphia is like a machine politics sort of place. So like Democratic Party and the party boss and all these leaders have a lot of sway in how the next representative gets picked. And I don't think that's fair, because the way that the next representative should be picked is by who the people want the next representative to be. So with me, you end up with somebody who is clean with respect to their campaign contributions and is not part of the establishment. I don't care what the establishment has to say. And when we align, that's great. If we don't, then I'll do what is best in the best interest of the people. And finally, I'm actually from this city. Mm-hmm. I grew up in this city. I've lived the sort of life that is most similar to the average Philadelphia. When growing up, my life as a teenager and a young man was much more similar to the average Philadelphian's life, right? Like I grew up in Germantown, neighborhood of Philadelphia. I was stopped and frisked. I've experienced police brutality. I have been judged by sagging my pants as a young boy, a teenager. I rapped. My life is so much more similar to the average Philadelphian than anybody else in this race. And so I think I would better represent the people of Philadelphia because I actually know the people of Philadelphia. I am the people of Philadelphia. So.
Well, you come from the community. That's why you understand the community. So that makes you a person of the community.
Exactly.
Right on.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna chop it up. Hopefully, I get you back on again.
Oh yeah.
What is it? November that the elections this
Well,
November coming up?
Yeah, if we make it to past the primary, then it's November. So, but the primary is in May.
How are you doing in the primaries right now?
Well, it hasn't started yet, but we'll know better by like April. So,
what do you need signatures or something now?
Yeah, exactly. The signature season starts next month, so we'll get the signatures and try to get a lot of signatures so nobody tries any funny business, and then we'll be off to the races.
Again, I would hope that you can get in contact with maybe the Black Caucus up here in Monroe County, and
Okay.
the brother's name is Michael DeRosier. He runs the Black Caucus here, and Tamiko Patterson, she's the head of the Democratic Party up here. So you might want to get to talk to them, and I don't know, see what they can do for you.
Absolutely. Right, I would love to. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you again for coming on. We truly do appreciate it. And my name is Kendall Stevenson. Again, this is the Empowerment Show, and thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Check out the rest of the shows that we have on here. Tomorrow, I believe we have Chris Matthews, and he'll be on with Sharing Your Light. Don't forget, we have Mental Health Mondays with Hope, and we have Jeannie. She comes in on Wednesday to talk financial literacy and entrepreneurship. I'm back on Tuesday again with my man Yates, and we talk politics. So I'm Kendall Stevenson. Thank you guys for tuning in, and see you next time.